I'm Ron Peterson. I'm the instructor down here at Douglas Education Center. I'm here to show you how to do a pre-trip inspection on a 2011 International. Start at the front of the truck. You want to tell them there's no leaks, no leans. You want to go up to the roof. There's no body damage. The visor lights are secured to the truck. Working condition, proper color. Windshield, clean and free of debris. No cracks, secured to the truck. Your wiper blades are touching the glass. The wiper arms are secured to the truck. You have an inspection sticker and a weight class sticker on the windshield. Come down to your body. The body of the truck, there's no damage. Your spot mirrors, right and left, not cracked, not broken. Come down to your grill. The grill is secured to the truck. Move over to your headlights. You have high beams and low beams, working condition. You have a right and left turn signal, proper color, working condition. You have a right and left marker light, proper color, working condition, and your four-way flashers. Come down to your bumper secured to the truck, and your license plate is secured to the bumper. Now we're gonna go under the hood. We're gonna open the hood, do under the hood, engine compartment. We gotta start on the driver's side first. Radiator, full fluid, it's not leaking, it's secured to the truck. We have our water intake, it's secured to the truck, it's not leaking. We come down to our filler tube where we fill our oil. From the filler tube, go over to your dipstick where you check your oil. From here, we're coming down to our air compressor. The air compressor kicks in at 120 PSI, kicks out at 125. It's controlled by the air governor up here on the firewall. We have a mother airline, which is your silver airline running off the air compressor. It's secured to the truck. It's not leaking. From here, we come down to our engine block. Our engine block is secured to the truck. There's no cracks, nothing broken, and it's not leaking. From the engine block, we come up to the Rainbow Airlines. This supplies all the air to the gauges. They're not leaking. From here, we come over to our steering shaft. Our steering shaft is not bent, not twisted. We have a steering knuckle. Our steering knuckle is secured to the truck. It's in working condition. From the steering knuckle, we come up to our power steering reservoir. It's not leaking, it's secured to the truck, and it's full of fluid. From here, we go to our power steering hose. It runs back to the power steering pump. The power steering hose is not leaking. It's running to the pump. The pump is gear driven. It's secured to the truck, and it's not leaking. From the power steering pump, we come over to our fuel filter. Our fuel filter is not leaking, and it's secured to the truck. Then over to the frame. Our frame, front to back, there's no cracks, no missing, no bolts, and it's not welded on. From the frame, we come over to our steering box. It's secured to the truck. It's not leaking. We have our pitman arm. Our pitman arm is secured to the truck. Comes over to the drag link. The pitman arm and the drag link are held on by a ball joint, a castle nut, and a carter pin. We follow the drag link all the way back to the spindle. Our spindle is secured to the truck. It's the drag link and the spindle are held on by a ball joint, a castle nut, and a carter pin. From there, you want to go over to your leaf spring hangers. Your leaf spring hangers are secured to the truck. Front and rear, the leaf springs, not cracked, not broken, none are missing. The leaf springs are held onto the axle with U-bolts. We come up to our shock absorber. The shock absorber is secured to the truck. It's not leaking. From the shock absorber, we come over to our airline. Service airline comes up to the service brake canister. The service brake canister is not leaking, secured to the truck. The service brake canister has a push rod. The push rod can't be bent or twisted. From the push rod, we go to the slack adjuster. The slack adjuster works the brakes, and there can't be no more than 1 inch of play. From the slack adjuster, we go to our brake drum. The brake drum is not bent, not cracked, not welded on. There's no grease or oil. Then we go to the brake shoe. There's no less than 1/4 inches of pad. Then we go to the inside of our rim. It's not bent, twisted, or welded. We go to the inside of the tire. No CIDs, condition, inflation, depth. From the inside of the tire, we come up to the top of the tire. Top of the tire is 4/32 of tread depth. It's virgin rubber, which means it's brand new. It's properly inflated to 110 pounds of pressure, and it's checked with a tire pressure gauge. Outside of my tire, we have no CIDs. The outside of the rim, it's not bent, not twisted, not welded on. It has a metal valve stem with a metal cap. Our lug nuts are secured to the truck, or we'd see streak and rust or shiny metal between the lug nuts. And then we come up to your hood hinge. The hood hinge is working condition and secured to the truck. We have an antifreeze reservoir. It's secured to the truck and it's not leaking. It's non-pressurized system. From the antifreeze reservoir, we're going to come down to our water lines. They're not leaking and they're secured to the truck. From the water lines, we go inside to our water pump. Our water pump is gear driven. It's not leaking. It's secured to the truck. From the water pump, we're coming up to our fan blades. Our fan blades are none are missing, none are cracked, and they're secured to the truck. We go to our fan belts. Our fan belts, air conditioning belts, are secured to the truck. None are frayed, none are cracked. We drop down to our alternator. The alternator is secured to the truck. It's belt driven, and the power wire is secured to the alternator. From the alternator, we come up to our air conditioning unit. Our air conditioning unit is secured to the truck. It's also belt driven, and the power wire is connected to it. We follow the air conditioning line up to the firewall. The firewall there's an air dryer. The air dryer is secured to the truck. It's not leaking. We come over to our air intakes. The air intakes are secured to the truck and not leaking. They come down to our turbos. Our turbos are not leaking. They're secured to the truck. You'd see black soot. From the turbos, you go back to your exhaust. The exhaust is not leaking or would see black soot. Then we drop down to our frame, back the front. Our frame is not cracked, not broken, and there's no bolts missing. We come to our washer fluid reservoir. It's secured to the truck. It's full of fluid. It's not leaking. We come over to our hood hinge. Our hood hinge is secured to the truck, working condition. We drop down to our leaf spring hangers. We have a leaf spring hanger, front and back. It's secured to the truck. It holds the leaf springs. The leaf springs are not cracked, not broken, not missing. Would they go to the U-bolts? The U-bolts are holding the springs to the axle. They're not broken. They're secured to the truck. We come up to our shock absorber. The shock absorber is not leaking. From the shock absorber, we do our mother airline, which is our service brake airline. That comes up to the service brake canister. The service brake canister is not leaking. It's secured to the truck. Goes to the push rod. Push rod's not bent or twisted. Our push rod works the slack adjuster. The slack adjuster works the brakes. So the slack adjuster cannot move more than 1 inch of play. From the slack adjuster, we go down to our brake drum. Brake drum is not cracked, not welded. There's no grease or oil in there. To the brake pad. The brake pad cannot have less than a 1/4 inch of pad. From the pad, we go to the inside of the rim. The inside of the rim is not bent, not twisted. From the rim, we come to the inside of our tire. No CIDs, condition, inflation, and depth. Top of the tire, 4/32 of virgin rubber. It's virgin rubber's brand new tire. It's properly inflated to 110 PSI, checked with a tire pressure gauge, no CIDs. The outside of the tire has no CIDs, condition, inflation, and depth. Our rim is not bent or twisted, not welded on. We have a metal valve stem with a metal cap. Our lug nuts are secured to the truck, or you would see streak and rust or shiny metal. And our hub seal is not leaking. We just finished up the engine compartment. Now we're going to move to the side of the truck. You're going to start at the roof of the truck. There's no body damage. We're going to drop down to the windows. The windows are not cracked or broken. We have a DOT number somewhere on the side of your truck. Ours happens to be right here. We're going to move up to the side window. It's not cracked or broken and it's working condition. We have our mirrors. The mirrors are secured to the truck. they're not, and the mirror's not cracked or broken. We're going to come over to the door handle. The door handle is working condition. Now we're going to go to the inside of the door. It has door hinges. The hinges are working condition. We have a door seal. The door seal is secured to the truck, working condition. We go to our floor. There's no obstructions on the floor. Bottles rolling around, anything like that that's going to go underneath your clutch and brake pedal and cause you to wreck. From the floor, we're going to come over to our fire extinguisher. Our fire extinguisher is proper for the load we're hauling. Underneath this door, we have 3 reflective triangles. Behind these fairings, we have batteries. Our batteries are not leaking or would have a sulfury odor. The fairing is secured to the truck and the steps are secured to the fairing. We have a gas cap that's secured to the truck, and our gas tank is not leaking. It's behind the fairing and it's held on with a metal strap and a rubber insulator. You're going to follow this fairing back. It's secured to the truck. We're going to come over to your steps. Our steps are secured to the truck. On top of the steps, we have a catwalk. Our catwalk is secured to the truck. Under the catwalk, we have a drive shaft and universal joints. They're not bent or twisted. From there, we have a crossover fuel line. It runs between both fuel tanks. It's not leaking. From there, we jump up to the back of the truck. There's no body damage. We have an exhaust. It's not leaking, or you'd see black soot. You have your air lines and electrical lines. They're secured to the truck. From there, we come down to our frame. Our frame, bring it all the way back to the second set of wheels. Our frame is not cracked, not welded on, not broken. It's not missing no bolts. From here, we're going to come up to our fifth wheel. Our fifth wheel is secured to the truck. Our locking jaws are locked around the kingpin, and the locking lever is in the lock position. It has a pivot pin. The pivot pin is locked in place with the pivot pin locking pin. We have our angle iron. Our angle iron is secured to the truck. We come up to our fifth wheel air slider. These are the locking pins for the air slider. It's secured to the truck and locked in place. We have this pigtail airline. It's secured to the truck. It's not leaking. From here we come to our service brake airline. It's not leaking. It goes to the service brake canister. It's not leaking and it's secured to the truck. The service brake canister has a push rod that don't move more than 1 inch. From the push rod, we go to our slack adjuster. Our slack adjuster cannot move more than 1 inch. On the front wheels, I told you to go to the brake drum. We have a couple things in between here that I want to get to before we get to the brake drum. So remember, the slack adjuster can't move more than 1 inch. Then we're going to come over here. We have airbags. Our airbags are not leaking. They're secured to the truck. We have a shock absorber. It's secured to the truck and it's not leaking. And we also have our leaf spring hangers, front and back, and our leaf springs, not cracked or missing, and they're held onto the axle with U-bolts. Now we go to the brake drum. Just like I told you on the front wheel, we're going to do these back wheels. Brake drum, not cracked, not welded. It has no grease or oil in it. The brake shoe, no less than 1/4 inch of pad. The inside of the rim, not bent, not twisted. Inside of our tire, inside of the inside tire, no CIDs, condition, inflation, and depth. Top of the tire, this here can run 230 seconds of tread depth. You can run recaps or regrooved. It's inflated to 110 PSI, checked with a tire pressure gauge. Go to the inside of the outside of your inside tire, no CIDs. Our rims are touching, our tires are not. The inside of the outside tire, no CIDs. Top of the tire can run recapped, regrooved, inflated to 110 PSI, checked with a tire pressure gauge. Outside tire, no CIDs. Our rim, not bent, not twisted. It has a metal valve stem with a metal cap on both tires. Our lug nuts are secured to the truck. You'd see streak and rust or shiny metal. Our axle seal. This is an axle seal. On the front wheels are hub seals. On the back of the trailer are hub seals. This is an axle seal because this is what makes the truck move with the drive shaft. So this is an axle seal. From the axle seal, we're going to come over to our leaf spring hanger again for the second set of tires. Our leaf spring hanger, front and back, is secured to the truck. It's held onto the axle with U-bolts. We have a shock absorber, which is not leaking, and we have an airbag, which is not leaking. From here, go inside. We want to do our service brake air line. It's not leaking. It goes to the service brake canister. It's not leaking, and it's secured to the truck. The service brake canister has a push rod that don't move more than 1 inch. From the push rod, we go to our slack adjuster. Our slack adjuster cannot move more than 1 inch. We do not have to do the brakes or the tires on this second set because we're repeating ourselves. So from the slack adjuster, I come up to the frame. The frame, not bent, not welded, not missing no bolts, over to the mud flap hanger. The mud flap hanger is secured to the truck. The mud flap has to be the width of both of your tires and at least 6 to 8 inches off the ground. From here, we come over to our lights. We have a right and left turn signal, proper color, working condition. We have brake lights, proper color, working condition. We have 4-way flashers, proper color, working condition. We have marker lights, proper color, working condition. And we have a reverse light, proper color, working condition. Okay, now we just finished the complete tractor. Now we're going to go to the in-cab inspection. Right here, we have our headlights and marker lights. From the headlights and marker lights, you're going to come up here. This is your high beams and low beams. If you pull this back, that's going to be your high beams and your low beams. You also have your windshield wipers and washers on the turn signal arm. Okay, we just finished up with the wipers and the washers. From the wipers and the washers, you want to come over to your steering wheel. This here is your city horn. Over here is your air horn, which is your country horn. From here, you want to go over to your gauges. Over the gauges, we have an oil pressure gauge, which comes up within seconds when you start the truck. We have water temperature. We have our RPM gauge. You have your miles per hour gauge. We have a voltmeter. We have a fuel gauge. We have our primary and secondary air gauges. From here, drop yourself down to your switches. This is your blower motor. This is your hot and your cold temperature. And this is your defrosters and heater. Over here are your air brake release for your tractor and your trailer. We have a stick shift. Our stick shift is secured to the truck. We have a throttle. We have a brake. We have a clutch. Fire extinguisher secured to the truck, proper for the load we're hauling. And we also have spare electrical fuses in the truck. Come over to your door handle. This is your door handle for the door to open and close. It's working condition. We have our window buttons, which works the windows both sides up and down, working condition. We have a left mirror. We have a right mirror. It's secured to the truck. And we're going to come over here to our windshield. We have nothing hanging down to obstruct our view. Our windshield is clean and free of debris, and it's secured to the truck. I'm not going to have the truck running because the mic's probably, you're not going to hear me. So I'm just going to demonstrate how it's done in this truck. So when you get in the truck, the first thing you want to do is put your seatbelt on. You want to tell him that the seatbelt is not frayed or cracked and it's working condition. The truck's going to be running for you, so you want to tell him you have at least 100 psi of pressure on your primary and secondary gauges. Once that is completed, then you tell him, I'm going to push my clutch in. I'm going to put the truck in the lowest gear. I'm going to reach up and I'm going to turn my truck off, and I'm going to turn my truck back on. Not starting it, just turning it on till all your gauges cycle through and your low air pressure warning light is on. After you do that, you stabilize the air pressure by pushing in both of your air valves. When they quit hissing, that means the air is stabilized on your primary and secondary air gauges. Now, with your feet on the floor, you cannot lose more than 3 psi in 1 minute on either one of your primary and secondary gauges. Now you're going to put your foot on the brake, and you're not going to lose any more than 4 psi with your foot on the brake pedal on your primary and secondary gauges. Now you're going to fan them down. You're going to keep fanning the brakes down at 60 psi. Your warning buzzards and lights are going to come on, indicating you have low air pressure. You're going to keep fanning your brakes down to 20 to 40 psi. That's when your spring brakes are going to pop. Make sure both of your spring brakes pop out. That's going to set your spring brakes itself. Once the spring brakes set, you hear that air buzzard going off, you pull this truck off to the side of the road immediately, because you're not going to choose where you can get off the road. When them spring brakes set, you're dead. You're dead in the water. That's where you're stuck at. So get off the road as soon as you hear the warning buzzers, because at 20 to 40 psi, when your spring brakes set, that's it. Now, we're completely out of air pressure, so the only thing we can do is start this truck back up. So you're going to push your clutch in, you're going to put the truck into the neutral position, and you're going to start your truck up. As soon as you start your truck, you're going to tell him my oil pressure came up to normal within seconds. After the oil pressure comes up, you're going to rev the truck up on your tach to just under 1500, which is 1400 RPMs, and you're going to hold it there. And we're going to build air pressure in the truck up to 60 psi, where your warning buzzards and lights are going to go off. They came on at 60, they have to go off at 60. So once you hit 60, the warning buzzards and lights go off. You tell them I'm building air pressure to 85 psi. And you tell them when I'm at 85 and you're going to 100 psi in 45 seconds or less. Once we do that, then you're going to still hold it at 1400 RPMs till you get to 120 to 125 on your primary and secondary air pressure gauges. And that's when your air governor blows off, and that's the end of the air brake test. Our tug test is, you're going to push your clutch in, you're going to put the truck in gear, you're going to release your tractor brake and leave your trailer brake out. We're going to slowly let off the clutch and make sure the truck don't move. It don't move, it's working. Push the clutch back in, push your trailer brake in, pull your tractor brake out. Slowly let off the clutch. It don't move. The truck is locked down. Your tug test is over. Let off the clutch, put it back in neutral, set your brakes. The end of the tug test. The last test we're going to do for him is a service brake test. So truck's going to be running. We're going to put the truck back into gear. We're going to release both of our brakes, our tractor and trailer, and you're going to let off the clutch. You're going to roll forward 5 mile an hour. You're going to hit the brake. Make sure the truck don't pull right or left, or no fading in the brake pedal. Once you do that, put the truck back in neutral, set your brakes, let off the clutch. That's the end of the service brake test.